Every forgotten NFL MVP explained. In 1960, Norm Van Brocklin throws 2,471 yards and 24 touchdowns while leading the Philadelphia Eagles to a championship. He retires immediately after, on top, at age 34. But while he's the final bridge between the leather helmet era and modern football, history doesn't treat him like a turning point. Instead, the moment fades. Johnny Unitas owns the next decade. Bart Starr wins the titles. Van Brocklin's MVP becomes an asterisk. Great, but lost between icons. This is the cycle. MVP-level greatness, then silence. Because not every NFL MVP gets remembered. Some are commemorated forever. Others, they become trivia questions. So today we explain every forgotten NFL MVP. The legends whose dominance shaped seasons, but not legacies. 1961. Paul Hornung, MVP, kicker, weapon, and still overlooked. 12 rushing touchdowns, 15 field goals, 41 extra points. In 1961, Paul Hornung scores everything for the Green Bay Packers, nearly 1/3 of the team's total points. Vince Lombardi builds the offense around his versatility. Need a sweep? Hornung. Need a field goal? Hornung. Need a lead? Hornung. But just 2 years later, the NFL suspends him for gambling. His image sours, and even with multiple titles, Hornung becomes a distant piece of the dynasty. His 1961 MVP is rarely discussed, viewed as outdated in a league that quickly moves on from multi-position players. 1968. Earl Morrall, backup to MVP to forgotten name. Johnny Unitas injures his elbow. Enter Earl Morrall. He leads the Colts to a 13-1 record, throws 26 touchdowns, and finishes with a league-best 93.2 passer rating. He's the best quarterback in the league, while technically being the backup. But all anyone remembers is Super Bowl III, Joe Namath's guarantee, the upset, and Morrall's 3 interceptions. Never mind the 14 brilliant weeks before that. Morrall's MVP season becomes the backdrop to a cultural moment. He's remembered less as a leader, more as the guy Namath beat. 1969. Roman Gabriel. Dominant, but derailed. 6'5", cannon arm, tough as steel. Roman Gabriel throws 24 touchdowns and just 7 picks for the LA Rams in 1969. The team goes 11-3 and looks like a title favorite. But they miss the playoffs on a tiebreaker. And with the AFL-NFL merger looming, the Rams become an afterthought in the narrative. The 70s belong to the Cowboys, Steelers, and Dolphins. Gabriel's MVP season overshadowed by what came next. 1971. Alan Page, the MVP who didn't touch the ball, defensive tackle. 9 unofficial sacks, a blocked kick, 2 safeties. Alan Page disrupts everything in 1971. He becomes the first defensive player to win MVP in league history. But because sacks weren't an official stat yet, his impact doesn't show up in the box score. And because the Vikings lose in the Super Bowl, the credit goes elsewhere. Today, most fans recognize the Purple People Eaters as a group, but Page's individual dominance? Rarely mentioned. 1972. Larry Brown. Vision issues, MVP impact. Larry Brown runs for 1,216 yards and 11 touchdowns in 1972. He does it while battling hearing loss and vision problems that force him to tilt his helmet mid-snap. Washington wins 11 games and reaches its first Super Bowl. Brown carries the offense, often against 8-man fronts, but the Dolphins go 17-0. Their perfect season dominates history. Brown's MVP? Buried beneath perfection and forgotten in most retellings. 1976. Burt Jones, the Ruston Rifle, shoots once. 3,104 yards, 24 touchdowns. Burt Jones puts Baltimore back on the map. He's tough, electric, and leads the Colts to a 13-1 record. He's even more efficient than Terry Bradshaw that year, but injuries catch up. Baltimore loses in the playoffs, and Jones never returns to MVP form. His career fizzles just as the Steelers' dynasty peaks. That makes him easier to forget. 1980. Brian Sipe, the heart of the Cardiac Kids. 11 fourth-quarter comebacks, over 4,100 passing yards. Brian Sipe becomes a Cleveland hero in 1980, but in the playoffs, his interception on Red Right 88 becomes the play that defines the season. The moment overshadows the man. Sipe's MVP, once full of adrenaline and promise, turns into just another chapter of Cleveland heartbreak. 1981. Ken Anderson, efficiency before it was cool. 70.6% completion rate, 98.4 passer rating. Ken Anderson runs a no-huddle offense that outpaces everyone in 1981. He wins the AFC title in minus 59 degrees weather against Dan Fouts in the Freezer Bowl, but he loses to Joe Montana in the Super Bowl. And that's the problem. Montana becomes the model. Anderson becomes the cautionary tale. His MVP? Respected by coaches but missing from highlight reels. 1982. Mark Moseley, the kicker MVP that never happened again. 20 of 21 field goals, nearly half of Washington's total points in a strike-shortened season. Mark Moseley wins MVP as a kicker, but even he admits it felt strange. The league never awards it to a specialist again, and most fans treat it like a trivia answer, not a real part of history. 1988. Boomer Esiason, a Super Bowl short of immortality. 3,572 yards, 97.4 rating. Boomer Esiason is the face